decided to go live this evening. I apologize for not letting you know in advance. But my husband is doing some extra work, and so I have a few minutes. And if no one joins us, that's okay. It will just be me talking to you, who I assume will be watching later. So I hope everyone's day has gone great. So far, it's almost Friday, which is nice, and a long weekend. So, everyone is wrapping up the end of the school year. Kids are graduating high school and grammar school and kindergarten. And um, hi, good evening. Bear with me, guys. This is my first time joining from a cell phone. I'm a little bit impromptu tonight. Hello. Thanks for being here. Everyone. I enjoy talking with you guys, and I appreciate your support of the channel. I know that a lot of people, um, well, not, I'm not going to say a lot of people, but there's a few people who would rather we not discuss, what's going on with the Kyle Appleford and the Apples channel, but you guys do support it, and I thank you for that. You're sick. You're super sick. Someone said they're super sick in the middle of the end of the school week, moving and remodel. That's a lot going on at one time. And that is a lot of stress. I hope that you feel better soon. That's a lot to go with. Just even dealing with the move is super stressful, but then being on sick on top of it. Hi, Shauna. Everyone, please continue to keep Shauna in your prayers right now. As you know, her mom is battling end stage cancer, and we do believe in the power of prayer and the power of God to respond. And so I just want to ask everyone that you would please keep her in your thoughts and prayers and near to your heart, as well as her mom right now. So we have a question coming in. What relation do I have to either of them? I am not related to either one of them. And I'll just explain briefly since we're starting out. Again, I haven't been on live, I think, for a little bit. This is only my third live. I'm not a professional YouTuber or anything, but I did follow Jenny's channel, and it is still her channel, even though she's not physically with us. And I followed her channel the last year of her life as she was documenting her decline, really around the time when she, a little bit before when she said she made the video that she told her kids that she was dying. Yeah, that's a really good question. If I'm trans, yeah, you're obviously one of Kyle's little goons, I'm sure. And that's fine because you're going to be removed. So, anyways, I'm not intimidated by people's comments. I have thick skin. Like, I've dealt with real woman stuff my entire life, like taking care of a sick child who had to have heart surgery, having open heart surgery. Like, I'm I'm a strong woman. Like, I'm not intimidated by anything. So, anyways, if I was, I wouldn't be on here trying to continue to advocate for Jenny's legacy, and honestly for people who are vulnerable and who are going through things. And I have always had a heart for people who don't have a voice, and Jenny doesn't have a voice. We're Jenny's voice. And I think it's important that we help other people to understand that just a this is not just, a story, a grief story about a young mother who passes away from cancer and her husband moves on into a new relationship. This is much more than that. And I continue to get comments about, people saying, why can't you be happy for him? Why can't you accept he's moving on? And I continue, like, I want to like go like this, like hit my head, because I don't understand how people continue to not understand that this is not about moving on and not about a new relationship. And this is about so much more than that. Um, so I kind of wanted to ask everyone. Well, there's a couple of things that I thought were kind of interesting that are going on right now. So yesterday, Shauna did. I mean, excuse me. Britt did tell me that. Sorry, I have my husky dog here next to me, and she wants to apparently make a lot of noise as always with huskies.
Oh.
But anyways, so yesterday on Britt's Instagram, she did share that a moving truck, and with her moving truck, um, which appeared to be a moving truck, she shared a caption that it feels like Christmas. And so there's this idea in my mind, and I'm not sure if you guys feel the same way too, that they might be preparing for the move. Um, Whether that's her getting her things out of her current home and then moving into their new home, or I guess that would make sense because I think she posted it during a time in which she was in Arizona at the time, and Kyle, I believe, flew out to be with her. I believe it was yesterday. Um, okay, just one second, guys. Robin or Shauna, are you guys available to moderate for a second? Because there's some unhinged people in this comments, and honestly, I can't do that at the same time as running this. Shauna said, they are panicking that you're exposing them. Keep it up. I think, the thing is that, I think the thing is that a lot of people don't understand that this is so much more than a story. Again, like I said, about somebody who's grieving and is moving on. It's so much more than that. Okay. Can y'all hear me right now? I am going to just block that person. So, who continues? Okay, great. Thank you guys. So, yeah, I don't know why all of a sudden there's dumb people on here tonight. It's weird. I kind of thought that by going just randomly there would be less of that, but apparently there's more. But that's fine. But anyway, so I had some questions that I wanted to ask. Anyways, back to what I was saying, it does appear, at least in my mind, that it looks like Britt is likely moving her items from her home into a new home. And with the end of the school year being upon us, it makes me think that Kyle will probably, in my personal opinion, be making a move over to Arizona with his children here shortly. Which brings up a lot of the issues that we've had in mind is around Jenny's family, and will they be able to still continue to see the children? Will they be able to have access to them still? How frequently might they see them if they're making this move on to another state, which, as I understand, takes about 7 hours to get there? Um, I don't. I actually don't have a Cash App, but and there's no obligation to support at all. But if you're interested in supporting the channel, I think there's an option where you can do like a super chat or something of that nature. Um, and so I would certainly appreciate that. I do try to make my videos quality. I do take time to make them and to find out the information and be as accurate as I can and as careful as I can with my presentation of information. This one is more impromptu, uh, But anyways, so I have some questions that I wanted to know from you guys. Um, the first question is, do you think that audiences become too emotionally invested in creators, or do those creators unintentionally encourage it? What do you guys think about that? Someone says there is a parasocial connection there with certain content. Yes, the question that I was asking for anyone who's just joining us is, do you believe that audiences become too emotionally invested in creators, or do creators unintentionally encourage it? Like, is there an intent behind when influencers or other creators, when they come upon, when they come on their channels, do they have an intention to get their viewers emotionally invested to increase their retention and the money that they make on their channel, or both are true? Yes, I agree with you. I think it's, as another person said, I think a little bit of both. um Someone said that can cause people to become more invested creators than what is appropriate, especially with things like giving fans fan names or extending too much information. I agree. I think there's definitely strategies that creators do to cause their follower base to become more emotionally invested and to keep them there. Um, and I think that we have seen a lot of that in this particular story. There's a lot of information, key dates like Jenny's first, second death anniversaries, and holidays, and kind of trying to tie in the certain important days. And, there was a whole series of videos around it being the first, like the first Christmas, etc. Yeah. There's a lot of information. One thing that I was kind of curious about, that I was thinking about recently, that I don't know that was ever discussed, and I'm sure someone here knows, and so let me know in the comments if you know. Um, what happened with Jenny's ashes? Because I believe she was cremated, and I was curious to know if Kyle were in possession of her ashes, or her family, if anyone knows. um, I know that's a bit of a sensitive question, but I don't know if that's something that he ever discussed. Does anyone know that? There's a lot of interesting angles to this story. Everything from the monetization aspect of it to the parasocial engagement of viewers, and him and Jenny as creators, to the new relationship and the speed of that relationship and the timeline. There's a lot of information that is interesting to a lot of people still here. What are my intentions? I think I've been really clear about my intentions all along. My intentions are to share information with fellow Jenny watchers and subscribers, and you know, um, to report primarily on audience reaction to the story and how it's evolved and changed, and how Jenny's Legacy channel has been changed to a completely new relationship blog and the mission associated with that. And then, to allow people to make up their own minds about the information that's available. And like I said, I've been very careful to provide as accurate as information as possible, and then kind of let people make up their own minds. Everyone's smart, everyone can, come to their own conclusions. So going back to the question in relation to Jenny's ashes, someone said he said he was keeping it private. Okay. Um, there's not much he really has kept private if you think about it. I mean, even I did a video on this recently, but even, you know, Jenny's final days weren't private, and there was a lot of controversy in relation to, the filming that went along with her, in her famous video, the I'm dying video, where she was in her last days and clearly medicated and, being on camera. So I find it kind of surprising that, he would choose to say that's private when so much of her sickness and decline was filmed. Obviously she wanted that to be filmed. Um, at least, up to the point where she was still, able to communicate on her own behalf and wasn't on medications. Okay. You said it on one of his videos. Okay. Another question. What did he do with her beautiful rock garden? That is an interesting question to know. If he's going to be moving soon, I would imagine that the rock garden would be soon packed up, or um, having, or maybe even already been packed up. Now, I did learn from one of Jenny's family members that Jenny's mother was going to be taking possession of the rocks from the rock garden. And I think a lot of people would feel happy um, with that information, just, because it's her mother. And obviously, many people painted those rocks with their children or themselves and sent those in as an extension of their own hearts and love for her and her family. And so I think it would be a great thing if she did indeed take those rocks. Someone said that makes me happy. Yes. Yeah, I think that would be a great thing. Um I've noticed something kind of interesting in the comments recently, and I'm not going to try to quote it because I don't have it here in front of me. But I did notice that um, some commenters, I can tell in their comments that they seem to be getting a little bit um, frustrated with the well, with what appears to be a lack of legal action on the part of Jenny's family. This is the first time I've seen anyone expressing anything other than positivity and love and support for her family. And I think it's important to note that as of right now, we don't know if they have taken any legal action so far in relation um, to having access to the children. That's number one. We don't know, and there's some information that is just not public, so we don't have that information. And I think extending grace to them is important too, because to my understanding, this loss naturally continues to be very difficult, very hard for them to process, and they've gone through a lot in relation to this. And so, but it is interesting, and I think it people are feeling frustrated because they want Jenny's family to continue to have access to the children, and for the children's benefit and for the benefit of Jenny's own parents. And I sense some frustration that's starting to brew around the idea that they may not have a legal option, or excuse me, that they may not have done anything legally so far. Um, but then, um, but then also just the not knowing part of it and the unknowns, I think, is kind of been frustrating to a crowd that is obviously very connected, is very connected to the children and to the story. Um, so some other questions that I had tonight. Do you think that YouTube audiences or other social media audiences sometimes forget that creators are real people? I think sometimes there's this idea that, there's a screen that separates us from the world. And so sometimes events, stressful events, like you might see, a crime, or you might see a fire or a natural disaster. And sometimes when you're watching that, especially because we see that so often, on Facebook or whatever you may be on, you see the feeds of those kind of things. And, your brain is continuously processing it. And so I think that in the same way, we might become a little disconnected to the folks that we actually follow and are watching. Someone saying, why doesn't he even post anything anymore? That's a good question that there's been a lot of speculation about. And I will share, generally, I don't have their quotes, the comments right here in front of me, but I will share generally what I think some people are feeling about why he hasn't posted recently. One of the reasons is because, as you know, if you've been following the story, there's been massive backlash since he brought Britt onto the channel, into Jenny's legacy space. And so for the last 6 months plus, there's been a lot of backlash, and certainly, the last couple months has been intensified. And I think that people feel, very frustrated, confused, angry, etc., a multitude of different feelings. And so, yeah. And so he may be wanting to avoid continued backlash right now. And by not posting, I'm sure he hopes that people will kind of forget about the situation and move on. Sorry, the dogs. But he continues to be the subject of many posts. Every single day, people are posting on Reddit about him and the situation. People are commenting still on his most recent video, which was like 3 weeks ago. So, they're continuing to vent their frustrations, and some people their support. And so, this idea that this will somehow magically perhaps go away, if indeed that is the reason why he hasn't posted, we don't really know. I don't think is very realistic, but he could also just be very, he could also, I'm going to block that person right now. Thanks, guys. It's hard for me um, to moderate while I'm trying to do this. But, someone here saying, I think he's ashamed. That's a possibility. If he feels any shame from his behavior or lack of behavior, That could potentially be a reason. Another reason is he might just be simply too busy. He obviously, in my mind, most likely is preparing for a move to Arizona, and then he has into school things. So maybe he's too busy. Or maybe he's also just hoping that more viewers will tune in once he does finally upload his wedding video, which I suspect that he probably will do. But these are all just assumptions. There's no, facts around anything related to why he hasn't posted. Um, so that is definitely an interesting thing to think about. Another question I have is, do you think that viewers have a right to question public content if that content is monetized? Someone's saying he's probably tired of everyone talking bad about him and he's probably never going to come back. Um, Another person saying, I don't think Kyle will be posting publicly again. I would find it really surprising that if he didn't come on and post in the next couple of weeks. I think that he certainly has a financial / business incentive to post and to continue to post. And that obviously has to do with his views that he gets on there and the gifts that people continue to give him through super thanks and super chats, etc. And so, at this point, based on everything that I can tell from the research that I've done, um, YouTube has been a big source of supplementary income for him. And now his family is expanding, and so he'll need to have additional income, even though they'll, obviously be most likely combining their income. So I think it's a good income stream for him, and I would personally think that he would probably continue on. Okay, Shauna says, I don't think he wants to move and is having deep regrets, especially after she shared her desire for him. Oh, if she passes, yeah. So that's the video that I had just shared yesterday. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you to go back and watch it. It's in relation to an Instagram post that Britt shared, and then did later delete. And it was very controversial. Well, there was a lot of people up in arms in relation to what that said. So another person saying, I wish he would come back. I miss seeing the kids. That's a sentiment that a lot of people have discussed, is just missing seeing the children and not being able to see the children. Well, even in his last couple of videos, he stopped showing the children. Like, he would only show their backs, or you would hear them through audio. And I know in California, I think it's called the Coogan Law. It's where you have to, like, children that are appearing in videos are treated as, I think, as workers, in the sense that they're required to receive like a percentage of the income generated from the video. I don't have the law in front of me, so I don't want to go too much into detail about it. But some people have proposed that perhaps that's the reason why he's not showing them, because he would be required to set aside funds for them. And then, of course, other people guessing that, it's because of the additional of all the drama that he has been under and the criticism the last couple months. So it's hard to really know why they don't appear. One thing I can tell you is that I think the number one concern that almost all comments I see on my page, on his page, on Reddit, etc., have to do with the well-being of the children. And that's nice to see that so many people do care about their emotional and physical well-being. Um, and certainly, I think that we all do care about them and want the best for them. And then someone here saying, why hide if he's done nothing wrong? That's a really good point. I think this lack of transparency from him in relation to key questions has really hurt him in a way in terms of with his relationship with the Jenny's core follower base. Not being the whole channel was designed to be transparent from the very beginning. So when Jenny would come on and talk about her diagnosis and her symptoms, I mean, she would show herself physically, and she didn't fear people making fun of her because, she had cold sores or her face was burned. Like, those were the real horrific side effects of her treatment. And she came on and she, with much bravery, and I did respect her for that. um I think, it's so, and then she continued to document her cancer journey and all the different kinds of treatments she tried, because she tried so hard to be here still for her children. And so the idea is the whole channel was built on transparency. And then all of a sudden, when it switches over into a relationship vlog, all of a sudden things appear to be more muddied and not clear. And there's continuing questions that continue to be put forth. What were the GoFundMe monies used for? When did Kyle and Britt start talking? Things of that nature, and they just have gone unaddressed. Someone was asking how much do I think that he makes off of YouTube. I did do a very thorough and detailed kind of like a research report into the finances of his channel, so I recommend that you would just look back at that, and you're welcome to watch the video. I apologize, but I don't know offhand the number. I can tell you that it is exceed in excess of more than $1,000 a month, I believe. Someone asking, what does Britt do for a living? I believe that she works at a cosmetology office. I'm not sure if she's a receptionist. Someone saying the post was horrendous that I was talking about earlier, and it was, and I recommend that if you haven't seen that, you watch my video from yesterday. Yes, Shauna says that she's a receptionist at a Botox clinic. So another question, how long did Britt talk to Kyle before Jenny died? So I'm going to be doing a timeline video. That's going to be specific. It's going to be factual. It's going to separate out what we can confirm, what we cannot confirm, what people speculate versus what is true, where we have no information, etc. One thing I can confirm for you right now is that there are screenshots of comments that Britt made on, I believe it was Jenny's YouTube page, Jenny Apple, before it was changed to the Apples, while Jenny was still alive. One of those posts was saying that she was introduced to the channel by her then husband. So there is no information that can actually confirm that they were talking before Jenny died, but there are posts on Jenny's page by Britt while Jenny was still alive. And the other details in relation to the timeline I will get into, but I can at least talk about that for now. Let's see. Yes, someone said, I think I saw a comment from Britt on her Instagram a few months ago where she made more money than Kyle. It was in response to someone's comment that she wants Kyle for his money. I saw that post, and I was honestly shocked that somebody would say, like, in a public forum, that they make more money than their spouse. I just thought that seemed kind of insensitive towards him, and it made me laugh because I was surprised. It's just not something that you would expect to see. So yes, I did see that. And then there was also a post on his Instagram that he shared showing, and I'll have to upload this in a future video or in a memo or something, where she was comparing him in his looks to a cartoon character. And yeah, so there has been some very strange posts on their Instagrams, and it's just very, very weird. Um, okay, someone's saying, no, we know that Jenny and her journey was as real as it gets. Exactly. So, how do you go from a super authentic space where you have, put out, very detailed, very personal information about your cancer journey, which is very painful and emotionally and physically for her. Considering not being there and having so much anxiety and not wanting to be forgotten, and the depression and angst of that goes along with the terminal illness diagnosis, and for a young mom, and all that was out and about, and then all of a sudden, you know um there's videos that were previously posted by Kyle that were taken down. In fact, that's one of the items that I will be covering in my next video. When I talk about the timeline, I will be talking about and giving quote to the video where Kyle discusses how he met Britt. Okay, so I'm going to talk about what he said there versus what she said, and we'll look at that, and you will be able to make your own conclusion in relation to that. But that video was taken down, and so the question is, why was that taken down? And that kind of raised a lot of red flags in the community. This is not a Cubs live talk show. I have no idea what that is. Okay, someone's saying, when will she break down the PCA drama? I have no idea what you're referring to. I don't know if you guys are here for a different reason, but this is not in relation to baseball or anything of that nature. Yes, and there is a request to continue to pray for Jenny's children, with the circumstances that they're under. They must be under tremendous stress, just having to, um, you know, go, in Kyle's words, blend into a new family. They'll have two new siblings, a new stepmom figure, and be moving, I would assume soon, to a new state. And so it is, and then naturally leaving their friends behind, Jenny's family behind, their schools behind, their sports teams behind. And for a young kid, those are all very difficult changes, even for adults. Even one of those things would be a difficult change. So maybe somebody can answer this question, because I don't know the answer to this question. Did Jenny ever say she wanted Kyle to have other children? Does anyone know that answer to that question? I know that there was a lot of discussion after he had his recent surgery as to whether or not he had a vasectomy or vasectomy reversal. I can't comment on that. That's a subject I would like to my brain not to think about. Um, but it's yeah, if anyone has that information. And then someone's saying the kids don't look happy, Kyle or Britt's. I'm sure that all of the children are going under a lot of stress right now. Just having to have to change their lives is very stressful for children. So there's a couple of core issues that I want to discuss going forward in this story. And like I said before, obviously I'm not going to stay on this story forever. There comes a point, and I think we're reaching that where we'll have covered most everything that can be covered except for updates. And I'm happy to continue to give updates on the story moving forward. But again, some of the issues that I'd like to discuss in the future are What are the legal options that are available to Jenny's family, even as they move to Arizona? What legal options still exist for them as grandparents to have access, legal access to the children? And then obviously, we're going to be talking about the timeline and then the future of the channel, how I personally see that it will go, and then we'll look for updates after that. But I don't want um I'm not interested in continuing to rehash this this case. I think that we've done a really good job together, kind of bringing light to what the community has been feeling based on the comments, and based on many posts. There's much discussion still about this situation. So I'm going to read just a couple comments. Um, the only comment we know about is about him starting a new relationship. Yes. Everyone knows that Jenny stated that he wants Kyle to start a new relationship, even though she said that in her dying days and under medication. It's fine. Nobody in their right mind would want a single person with children like him to go on to never marry again. I mean, if people did, it's probably a very small percentage of people that feel that way. That is not the issue. It never has. I've said that ad nauseum, so I'm not gonna go into that. But it's, yeah. Um, Someone saying I think he did get one, referring to a vasectomy reversal, and they want a child together. I mean, that's definitely a possibility. They obviously don't share any children together. They are still relatively young, so who knows? I guess only time will tell about that. Um, how far is the new city that he's moving to? I don't know where they currently live. So Kyle lives in Southern California with his children. I believe, I don't know the city offhand. And honestly, I don't know the city that they're moving to in Arizona. But I believe it's about a 7 to 8 hour drive from where he lives. And someone saying, I doubtful that grandparents will have any rights. They have none in Oregon. And then Sean is saying, yes, grandparents are very real in California, especially if one parent is deceased. So, from the initial research that I have done, and it's not super extensive, I'm going to be doing some research before I put that out. Grandparents do have rights in Arizona, but the pathway to have legal access to the children in Arizona is much more difficult to navigate in Arizona versus if they had remained as citizens in California, unfortunately. But they do still have options. Someone saying here, is Britt the one who has made Kyle stop showing the children and stop talking to all of his followers? Is she jealous? If so, what does not bode well for the relationship, or that does not bode well for the relationship? It's really hard to know outside of speculation. I mean, all we have is speculation about that. We don't really know exactly why they aren't shown anymore because he, as far as I know, never commented on that. Um, Another person saying, I think Britt is the boss in the house and still believes she is trying to wipe any trace of Jenny out of Kyle's life. I've seen a lot of comments about that, her being kind of more in control of the relationship. And so I think a lot of viewers are feeling like that is the case. Um, so yeah, I've seen a lot of comments about, they feel like she has the reins of the relationship. Another person saying, does anyone even know if he's stopping the kids seeing the grandparents? So as far as I know, and I can confirm this from having spoken to the family member that I have been in contact with in Jenny's family, they have seen the children primarily, as I understand from his conversation or from my communication with him, primarily when Kyle has needed a babysitter. Any updates on Jen's family and how they are doing with all of this? I think this is an immense stress for them. I think worrying, based on my conversations with them, or excuse me, with the one person from their family member, this obviously is very stressful and heartbreaking for them at this time. And so, yeah. So our hearts definitely go out for Jenny's family. They're under incredible stress and incredible sadness. You know, having first lost Jenny and potentially, it looks like going to be having the kids move to a state away, several hours away. Um, so another person saying, why do people say that Britt and her children taken away and that she's an alcoholic? I'm going to let someone else respond to that. I will address the first part of that. I have not seen any legal information in relation to her having her children taken away or any parenting classes. If someone else has seen it, I haven't seen it, but so I can't really comment on that myself. Shauna saying Britt is jealous of a deceased woman, has made very horrible and cruel comments about both Jenny and her children. The main reason so many are so concerned for Jen's kids. Yeah. So I kind of wanted to know just real quick before I get, I end the live today. Where do you guys think the channel is going? What do you believe is going to happen with the channel? Do you think that Kyle is going to post his wedding and usher in a full appearance by Britt where she'll regularly appear on the channel, talk on the channel, make videos on the channel, interact with the followers that Jenny created from her cancer journey? Do you think that she will remain off camera and he'll kind of talk about her and their new life together? Will the kids continue to be shown? Any of the kids? How do you think he is going to navigate the operation of this Jen's Legacy channel moving forward? Someone saying Jenny is a tough act to follow. Yes. And someone saying, I hope he shuts it down. And someone else saying, I have seen it. She had to take parenting classes ordered through the court. And then another person saying, why would she be jealous of a woman that has passed away? It's not as if poor Jenny can come back. I wish she was still here for her kids. A lot of comments saying that, they wish that Jenny was still here and that cancer didn't take her, of course. I think that all of Jenny's community wishes that she was still here to parent her children and be the wonderful mother that she was. Another comment saying after Jenny died, Jenny's family did everything for him. Has he forgot that? That's a good point. I actually saw a video that someone posted on Reddit where Kyle, who was obviously much younger at the time, was saying how much he appreciated Jenny's dad and how he was almost like a second dad to him. So with that context, that made me really sad to think about too, because if they were so close, it's sad to see how strained everything has now become for them, and the impact of the kids, of course, being front and central to that. Someone asking, where did you see that, Kathy? Kathy, can you tell us where you saw those documents? Perhaps we can access them and look at them. I have not seen any legal information about her children online and parenting classes or anything of that sort. Okay, someone's saying, if we ever hear from Kyle again, I don't believe he'll show Britt or any of the kids. I would imagine doing a family vlog would be quite difficult if you can't actually talk or show your family. But maybe he'll be creative and think of another way. I'm not sure. Another person saying, I think it's sad that Kyle never has mentioned that Jenny's biography was in the planning stages. Remember, Jenny said she missed her window to write a book. Yeah. I remember from the video, one of her last videos, she was saying, you know, I never got to make a book, and it was really sad seeing her say that because you could tell it was really important to her. And then she was asking, I think she asked Kyle to make a book about her from his perspective and from her sister's perspective and her friend's perspective, and that could be included in the book. That was really sad. Someone else saying, I don't think he will post anything anymore. Um, Someone saying, thank you for opening up this channel information. You're welcome. I think that it's really important in this day and age where, um, well, it's really been a long time since people have followed folks online and their journeys. But I don't know of any other case, and I'm sure there are some, but I just don't know of any other case where a mission of a page so dramatically changed from its intended purpose. Jenny intended this page to be a video diary for her children and her community and other cancer warriors and family of cancer people going through cancer, a video diary of sorts of her journey, of her diagnosis, of complications, of her fight, etc. And then, after she passes, it goes into an active grief channel, despite the fact that she did help Kyle set up his own page and encouraged him to post on his own page. So he took that over as a grief journey. So then it kind of changed to that. And then now we're seeing a complete 360 into where it's now a new relationship vlog, essentially. So it has completely changed its mission. And, in order to even see any of Jenny's original cancer videos, you have to scroll through dozens and dozens and dozens of these videos. And that part is really sad because those should, in my opinion, be front and central in alignment with her intended goal for the channel. Another person saying it's hard to say where the channel will go. He is hiding right now, and he isn't even posting on Instagram. It's a guess at this point. They are probably focused on selling their house. Yes. Okay, Kathy, you said you saw the documents on an Arizona court site from the divorce. Okay. Well, we will have to look there and see what we're able to find. I have no problem sharing information if it could be publicly verified. Another question: do y'all think Jenny would be okay with Kyle's actions? What do you guys think that Jenny would feel about what Kyle has been up to lately? Another person asking, is his house up for sale? I have not seen that his house is up for sale. My personal guess is that he would rent it out, perhaps, because I would imagine that by now it would have been up for sale if he intended to sell it. Okay, Shauna's saying her nor Kyle has never denied the allegations against Britt. If someone accused me of these things, you better believe my husband and I would be denying it. Yes, absolutely. Yes. And then another person saying, I think with the fallout, he may make Jenny's a memorial channel, but he will make a new channel about his life, the money he liked. Yeah. My personal opinion is that he will, and I'll go through this in more detail in a future video, but I think he will probably integrate his new life onto the channel, unfortunately. I say that because he's been kind of priming that through the last several months by talking about how wonderful his relationship is and how great, everyone's getting along and the kids are doing great, etc. And so, despite massive backlash, he still has proceeded on. I mean, he could have, like I said before, when you're a YouTuber, you make a conscious decision every day, like, or whenever you go to post a video, you decide what you want to say, you decide what you want to title it, you decide where you want to post it. So, and you have to know that all those comments, he's seeing them. So he just has continued to post this whole time, despite a massive backlash. And yeah, he still has supporters. He still has some. But I think the most people have been upset with the direction of the channel. And I've seen countless people that have said that they've unsubscribed over that. And then another person saying, well, he's never showed Brit to us, hardly ever, and he stopped showing the kids. So, yes, that is true. I don't think Jenny would be okay with any of this. No, I think, I think Jenny would, in my personal opinion, be really heartbroken about the direction of her channel, especially about her children's um, relationship with her family being in jeopardy if they should move, in terms of like not being able to see them as much or at all. Like, I think that would be personally devastating to her. And I think those two things, in my personal opinion, would probably be the biggest sources of heartbreak for her. And of course, again, her kids' mental and physical, emotional well being was important for her, as it should be for any good mom. And anything that would jeopardize that, I think, would be upsetting to her. Another person saying he has soured the community too much for people to care to see his new life. Yes. It's really been a devastating thing. I'm not sure. I at this point, in my opinion, I don't think that he can ever bridge what the gap that he's caused between him and the majority of Jennings' original followers. I think that he would have to create new followers who didn't know the intense background story and who, I guess, are okay with it or unknowing. Another question: how can he afford all of this? He is now a father of 4, traveling back and forth, leaving Jenny's family. I did do a financial video about the amount of money that he likely is making from YouTube. And then obviously, he was a teacher in Southern California and had a teacher's salary. So he has a couple different income resources. So, any info on Corey West? Corey West is Britt's ex-husband now. I do not have any information about him. He seems to be, private or quiet on this, which honestly has probably helped him in the long run. So I don't have any information on him. I think a lot of people do want to know how he's feeling. So that would be interesting to know. Another person saying, I think he will do a new channel and people will watch because they like train wrecks. That is a good point, and a lot of people do watch because of the drama and because of the train wreck aspect of it. Another person saying maybe it's a GoFundMe investigation. That is definitely a possibility. And I wonder myself if that is ongoing at this point, if it's concluded, where that's at. We may not know until something breaks in relation to that. And sometimes those take a little bit of time too. Kathy, if you want to include the information about how the public can access those public documents from the Arizona court, you're welcome to put that and come back and put that in the comments to this video, and people will be able to see that. When this live posts, you can come back like after the live is over and post that at any point when you find it, if you'd like to. Someone saying, what job has he got now that he's moved? I'm not sure. He hasn't, again, because he hasn't been on in the last couple of weeks. We don't know what job he has or has not secured in Arizona. Another person saying, I'm not sure what the channel will be. I hope he keeps it to just give us updates on the children. Another person saying, that would be good, Kathy. It's a pretty serious allegation. It is a very, very serious allegation. And that's why I won't address it until I see the court documents, because I have no information about it, and so therefore I can say nothing about it at this point. Um, where do Kyle's parents live? Are they in the kids' lives? That is a good question. I don't know much about his parents. I believe his father may have passed away. I believe his mother is involved in the kids' lives, but I don't believe that she lives like close to them because there was a plan, as I understand, for her to move to where he lives. But then when he announced the proposal, I think that may have changed, if I'm not mistaken. He said, "Is that a fly in my house, or did it just buzz past my ear because it's 4 a.m. here and I can't be bothered to get the raid, but I gotta know." Where are you? Are you in like the UK or something? And that's nice for you to join us at 4 in the morning. Could they be here listening? Yeah, it's likely if they're not here now that they'll probably watch it later, which is fine. Let it be a source of entertainment. And he's entertained us for a while, if that's what you want to call the last several months of comments, videos, backlash, etc. Yes, you remember too, it's sad about the book. She didn't get a chance to write it. Yeah, it's really sad. Yes, Kathy said she will post it. So anyone who's listening to this, you are welcome to come back and check at a later time. Kathy is going to look for the information and post it if she can find it again. And so we appreciate that. Thank you for that. Another person saying he is running from the channel right now. He has to be very busy getting settled. That will keep him off Jenny's channel. I am glad he's off Jen's channel. Yeah. Oh yes, the UK. That's nice. Where specifically are you from? Are you from Scotland or are you from somewhere else? Yeah, someone's saying those shorts. Those shorts, yeah. My husband calls them Daisy Dukes because it's kind of interesting because someone on Reddit had posted a picture recently of him in his younger days when he was playing football and the shorts were like to his knees. And then I was like, dang, I wonder like why he doesn't wear long shorts anymore. Okay, Shauna, thank you. His mom lives in California. He has a very normal and respected half brother. Full article on him on Reddit. His dad was never a part of his life. Okay. Thank you for the clarification on that. Does he still have a P.O. box? The P.O. box? Um, that's a good question. If so, I know the last place that he was always putting that information was in the description of his videos. And so I think if you'd like to look back at any of the descriptions of his videos, you will see the P.O. box there if it's there. Another commenter, I'm in Sydney, Australia, and have been so disgusted with Kyle's behavior since Jenny died. He's turned into a curse word, yes. It is really sad. It's very sad to see the direction. It's very sad. Like I can't imagine. I usually when someone's spouse passes away, usually they try to honor them in some way, especially when they have young children who, miss their mom and care. It's just it's unimaginable to think about taking over the channel and changing it in this way when she so clearly demonstrated through writing about it and talking about it why it was so important to her. And that part to me is really, really sad. Oh, you're in the UK too and you can't sleep. So glad to catch a life. That's so nice. Want to trade? I'll go to the UK and you can come here. I have a feeling it's probably more peaceful where you live than here, but in the United States, but we won't go into that. Um, he wears 80s shorts, 70s shorts. Yeah. Someone says, why the rush? Yeah, that's a good question. And I've seen that multiple times in the comments. Why is he rushing? Why is he rushing to get married so quickly? Thank you, Shauna, for being here, and God bless your mom and you as you take care of her. And you are definitely in our thoughts. Thank you for being here. Another person saying, one day he was grieving Jenny, then the next video he was engaged, and you're like, what the heck? Um, that was really, I think that was, it's probably, like when your head goes back and you like get whiplash, it kind of felt like a whiplash moment for me watching that because I don't understand. And I think he titled one of the videos like two things can be true at one time, or talking about having a second heart. I don't really understand any of his language about how he feels. And I don't understand how one video you can talk about you grieve and are missing your spouse, and then in the next one you're talking about how wonderful and perfect your life is because you have this amazing new partner. I just don't understand how you can do that. That makes no sense to me. Okay, so let's see here. I'm gonna read a couple comments. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you for taking the time, out of your busy evenings or being up early. It's really nice to communicate with everyone. I don't know why we had so many strange troll type of people here in the beginning who they seemed like they came out of left field, and that was really strange. I have no idea what they were talking about with this baseball game and all everything, but it seems like they're gone, and I'm sorry I wasn't able to be on top of them with my moderation. This is my first time on my cell phone. It was just, and I get easily distracted. I have ADHD and stuff, so it was difficult, but thank you for being patient through that. Okay, another person saying here, just keep thinking of Jenny and the last month. She wanted to slow down. Family bedtime. Yeah, and how's the family doing? Uh, I remember in Jenny's videos that it seemed like she just wanted to spend time with her children, like when she would go do her treatments and things. Just that quality, peaceful time with her kids was so important to her. It wasn't about the busyness. It wasn't about going out to eat. It wasn't about going to Disneyland. Yeah, she like enjoyed those things, but it was her kids at the end of the day. That's really why she wanted to spend her time. Um, Another person saying, am I the only one here who thinks Kyle was very kind to Jenny through her whole cancer journey? I thought he was very sweet to her, and I thought he took wonderful care of the children after she passed. I think that he was very dedicated and devoted to her and taking care of her. I think we saw that on the cameras, that he went to her appointments. He tried to console her. He tried to have be supportive as a supportive partner. I think he did what any husband should do. Um, I don't necessarily think he went above and beyond. I think that when people are in good, healthy relationships, that's what they deserve and that's what they receive. But I'm wondering how anyone else feels about that. Someone saying, I think he did fine taking care of Jenny. Not sure of the last month, but he did take care of his wife. Yes. Um, yeah, I think most people do think that he was there for Jenny, and he was. He was there for her through her cancer journey, and he should receive credit for that. That's my personal opinion too. But that's really not the issue of contention, and it doesn't erase how he's been towards her legacy and towards her community. That doesn't negate any of those things. Two things can be true at one time. Thank you. I love this community. Thank you for creating this space. And that's the thing, guys. I'm happy to continue to give updates, moving forward about what's happening when new things come out. I'm happy to come on and we can talk about it. And I hope that you'll join me as I kind of start branching out into some other topics. I think you'll find them interesting. It's going to be the same style of deep dives and the same looking over evidence and the same talking about, viewer comments and psychology elements and things of that nature, because those are the things that I'm interested in. For example, one story that I want to cover in the future, and this will kind of give you an idea of what I'm looking to cover in the future. Again, not abandoning this subject, but just kind of pushing out past to look at some other things of interest. But there was a gentleman, and you might have seen this story, who was going down an escalator an early morning. And I want to say this happened like 2 years ago, but the video just came out. And his clothing, he tripped or something, and his clothing got stuck in the escalator and suffocated him. And that was a horrific thing that happened to him. He had two young children. The part of it that is really interesting to me and bothersome to me is that there were multiple people that watched him struggle and ultimately die from having been suffocated, and who did not take action to help him. There was one man who tried to pull his legs, and when that didn't work, he walked away, as I understand it. There were other people that just kind of looked and continued walking, or looked and put their head back down and walked away. There was a red button on the escalator that if anyone would have pushed it, would have stopped the escalator from moving, having saved his life. But no one pushed it, and no one came to his aid. No one like tried to rip off his clothing, no nothing. And so I think in America, and I don't know, I dare say probably in most places nowadays, because the world just seems increasingly dark. I think we have something that is very dangerous going on, and I think that we have an epidemic of apathy, and people just don't act anymore, and they don't seem to care. And so that's something that that I like to cover in the future. Yes, everyone walked past him on the elevator. You saw that. It's is that not crazy? I bet people recorded on their phone, but did not help. That's another angle. So looking at the psychology of inaction and why people don't come to help when they can, and if they did, it would completely change the outcome. That is something that I want to cover in the future. And so I hope that you will stay with me and continue to participate in our lives and in our videos, because we have some very, very interesting psychology to look at in the future, and things that are happening in society and why they might be happening, etc. I'm not even sure people are people anymore. That's a really good point. They don't feel like people. Okay, so I'm going to read a couple of comments going back about Kyle and how he was with Jenny. He did a lot of things. She was perfect and beautiful. And then in one instant, it all changed. And now it feels like Jenny who. That is a really good point. That's a really good point. Another person saying, I also think that he is in his own trauma response. He holds many resentments. And then another person saying he did an amazing job taking care of her. And like I said, I think most people agree that he did do a good job taking care of Jenny. And another person saying he wouldn't even go to the cancer walk, and said he didn't feel like it. Was that cancer walk? I assume that was after she had passed away, right? Oh, another person saying, I was just thinking he hasn't mentioned advocating for lung cancer support in a while. Yeah, I haven't seen anything like about that. You're in the UK too. Thank you for joining us from the UK. Yes, it was the second year about the cancer walk. Yeah. Those cancer walks are really beautiful. As I shared before, my sister had breast cancer. She had a double mastectomy. She did survive, but she went through chemotherapy and a very difficult surgery journey, which caused her multiple problems and many long-standing side effects of chemotherapy. I did go to a cancer walk with her before, and it was important to be there. And you show up for the people that have fought in your life, even if they're not here anymore, because you're standing in their place and saying, look, this person mattered to me. I loved them. They were real. They were valuable in my life. And, cancer may have taken their life, but their spirit lives on in memory or things of that nature. Kyle's mom joined Jenny's sister at the cancer walk. There was a picture of Kyle's mom. That's nice. His Facebook feed is filled with Jenny videos. He loops them, monetized, I assume. So one thing, just real quick. So it appears that Kyle has taken over Jenny's Facebook page, because the same videos that I've seen on YouTube, I've seen on her personal Facebook page. So I believe I've mentioned that before. Okay. Oh, he said his heart wasn't in it, the cancer walk. Yeah. And then another person saying on my comment, my point was, we know he has told untruths, and she has made cruel comments regarding Jenny in a sly way. There have been some, just real quick before we go, because I'm probably going to close this up here, just because I need to finish the evening off with my husband. But there has been some very cruel comments left on Kyle's own page in relation to Jenny. Now, they stayed up for a long time. I don't know if they're still up there. And it was quite appalling to see some of those comments made about her. And I will not repeat what they said, but they were demeaning and they were disrespectful and they were just horrific. And a lot of people were upset naturally because they were still on the page and not removed. So, of course, Well, thank you guys all for being here with me. I appreciate it. Look for a video from me in the next couple days in relation to the timeline of of kind of when Britt started posting on the page and what Kyle said about how they met and what she said about how they met. I think you'll find that to be very interesting. And I just want to thank you guys all for your support of the page. And I look forward to seeing everyone in the next video. I thank you guys all for your support. And I hope that you have a nice remainder of the week and a really great weekend ahead. And I will see you again soon. And now I have to figure out how to turn off this live. Thanks, guys. Have a good night or a good day.